Peacock soft tackle. What I normally do is I'll put 3 wraps of .010 lead on the hook. And I picked that up from Mitch with his patterns for his hare's ear pattern. And what he did is he explained to me that you just want to be able to break through the surface and drop a little bit, and so you can get it down. You don't want it to just drop like crazy. I don't have the lead on here, so all we're going to do is just learn how to dub peacock curl and wrap it up the hook shank. Now if you look at this stuff, it's pretty fragile material, but what we're going to do is we're going to make a dubbing loop out of it. So what I've already done is I've already put my jam knot on, I moved it back to the gap. I'm trying to incorporate the bend of the hook, and I'm going to tie in my peacock curl. What I'll do is I'll go through this real quick on a demonstration.
Craig, do you need the light on?
Which one? You want me to turn it off?
Yeah, well maybe that's going to be better. It was really shining. I don't know, is that better?
Okay. You guys see it now?
Yeah.
It works for me. I'm using 3. The bigger the hook, the more strands I use. So if I'm using like a size 6, what I'll do is I'll go 4 strands. I've done this same pattern on the Trinity River and swung this pattern and caught steelhead with it. So it's a pretty versatile pattern. Okay, so I have my 3 stands. You can see where they're hanging off the back. What I'm going to do is I'm going to wrap my thread back, and I'm going to use the dubbing tool. I'm going to come up, pull this out shorter than the length of the peacock curl. Get my double strand here on the hook and lock it in and go over the existing thread that's there. What I can do is I'll just move this forward back to where I'm going to put my soft tackle in. What I do is I come up through the middle, grab all 3 strands, come back in, and I have this type of fashion. Can you see that? Now what I do is I'm just going to wrap this puppy. No, I'm not. Take it back. I'm going to spin it first. You can use this with thread to reinforce it, or you can use wire. If you do it as wire, then it stays. You can do these all day long and just set them aside. Now I'm going to do touching turns on this pattern and bring it up. And what we see on the peacock is that it's green, but when it gets wet, it actually turns gold. And that's what the fish see. And you can see that gold color on that jar that's being passed around. Do a couple ties on there, lock it in. What I'm going to do is cut it off. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to go to my soft tackle. This is going to incorporate for legs. And I've passed out this material to all of you already. And it works nice if you pull all of the material that you're not going to use off of the stem. So you have all this fluffy stuff on the bottom. So what I'm going to, anything that looks webby down at the bottom, I'm going to remove. So I'm going to take all of this material off and strip it back so I have a bare stem to work with. And if you're tying a bunch of these, you can just set them up like this, and set them off to the side. You can do this one of 2 ways. You can tie in the stem or you can tie in the tips. What I'm going to do is I'm going to try and tie in the tip. The tip's going to be the weakest component. So what I did is I took and I pulled all of, from about here, just pulled everything back to expose the stem up towards the tip of the soft tackle, or the partridge. just going to set it in place, and I'm going to lock it in with a couple wraps. Okay.
Did you put one feather up there?
Just one. I gave you two in case you break this, so we don't have to go back around, and that's going to be a difficult thing. What I did is, when I first started doing soft tackles, I had a real hard time with them. So what I did is I went and got starling and started tying with starling, and that's even more fragile than this. Yeah, and it was pretty frustrating, but once I mastered the starling, I went back to this. This was pretty easy to work with.
Where do you get starling?
Just, yeah, you can get it. You can find it places.
You're not supposed to shoot them.
You can shoot them right in the flower.
You're
Yeah,
not supposed to shoot them.
you can buy them for about $5, the hides on it.
I didn't see them.
So what I'm going to do is I'm going
He's gonna go over
Yep,
it.
got
What I'm going to do is I'm going to fold the fibers to get them to go down. I can do this, or I can take off one side. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to take it and fold it, and I'm going to stroke these feathers back on the fold until I get it about 1.5 wraps on it, and then I'm going to tie it off. And that's going to be enough for my legs and my antenna and everything else. Okay. What I'll do is I'll pull everything back and I'll start wrapping back to get it so it'll flare. And if it doesn't flare, it's not that big of a deal. If it flares and it gets wet, you saw that one that was passed around, they'll come back out just like this, but when you do a slight pull on it, all of these fibers will pull in against the body. Okay, I'll do a couple half hitches on it and it's done. Okay, so you can see how you can knock these things out pretty fast.